Okay, guys, time for another maybe duo review, maybe quadruple. We'll see how much time I spend. My next couple movies, I have not much to talk about, but I wanted to review them because I'm trying to review everything I've seen. So I mentioned in my review posted yesterday that I was seeing another movie, and that movie was House of Gucci. Um, Not a movie that I've really been looking forward to. It was more of a movie of it's playing. I try to see every movie that I can that has at least actors in it that I like or has some sort of interest for me. And this one had both. I don't really know much about Gucci other than I don't give a crap about fashion at all. So, yeah, I don't give a crap. And the trailer intrigued me, so it seemed like an interesting story, and everyone was going crazy about Lady Gaga's performance. So I decided to check it out, and it was all right. It was good. Um, Going into it completely blind, I think really helped me because not knowing the story, I wasn't anticipating anything. I didn't know where it was going, so I was able to enjoy it. But this was definitely one of those. It felt Oscar baity kind of films, but not full on Oscar bait like Green Book or some other movies that have won Best Picture. It felt like a movie that people the people involved wanted to make, but also they want it to be a contender at the Academy Awards. So it kind of rides this fine line of being really boring at points unless you care about Gucci and fashion and all the behind the scenes of the company, and then kind of exciting when it gets into the character study portion and like learning about Adam Driver's character and Lady Gaga's character and Jared Leto's character, all them. So I mean, it was entertaining enough. I think 2 hours and 40 minutes rounded up is a little too long. I don't think it needed to be that long because it definitely dragged at certain points. Because there were definitely parts where I was sitting there like I wasn't checking my phone to see when it was almost over, but or seeing how far in it was. But at the same time, I wasn't invested, so I was just kind of looking at the screen, and I wasn't really soaking anything in. I wasn't, I was just kind of watching it. Um, it started out pretty exciting, honestly. I was into it, and then close to the halfway point is it really dies, and it just kind of paces along, and I'm like, so many of these scenes are really similar. And then as we get into the last third of the movie, it got exciting again, and then I was into it again till the end. So again, it's good. It's all right. The highest praise I can give this movie is the performances. Lady Gaga is phenomenal. I totally see her taking a Best Actress award at the Academy because she's great. Adam Driver's awesome, but he's always awesome. Jared Leto was unrecognizable. Like if you don't know his eyes, which I do, like you don't recognize him. Like I'm a huge 30 Seconds to Mars fan, and like I know him, and I've seen some of his performances, some of the great, some of the downright terrible, but like he's unrecognizable at points, and it was like really cool. Al Pacino is Al Pacino. Sometimes he tries to do an Italian accent, but like when he starts to actually get loud, he just turns into Al Pacino, and I thought it was funny. Al Pacino plays Jared Leto's dad in the movie, and there's plenty of scenes in the movie where they're like hugging, and Jared Leto's character is kind of a bumbling idiot. He's kind of the outcast of the family. So every time they would hug, I would just get flashbacks to Godfather Part 2, and in my head, I would just go, I know it was you, Fredo, and I would just start laughing. So it's like, this was definitely the point where I really wasn't into the movie as much. um, yeah, it was enjoyable. I'm glad I saw it. I totally would be okay with Lady Gaga taking an award for this movie. I'm not sure about everybody else. Nobody else was. I mean, Jared Leto maybe because he was great. He was great. Honestly, I think he was better than Adam Driver, Pacino, Jeremy Irons. But I really don't have a lot to say about this one. It's good if you're into this kind of thing, which I love biopics, even about things I don't care about. If you keep me interested, I'm gonna watch the whole thing and might even love it. But this was just one that didn't hit me well. It was fun to see how the story unraveled, and I mean, this was a movie that just it got carried by its performances. So I mean, if you want to see it, go see it. I would. I try to say go see every movie in the theater, but this isn't really one that you have to see in a theater. Like you can wait till rental or wait till Blu-ray, whatever. But it was good, and it's definitely a movie I'll look back on and go, oh, yeah, Yeah, that was a movie I saw, but I probably will never see it again. But I know been pretty negative, but with all that said, I'm going to give House of Gucci a 6 out of 10. Um, real fun one. Yeah, this has been a real fun review so far. But second movie I wanted to talk about was Tick Tick Boom, a movie that I have not really been aware of up until recently. For those of you who don't know, Andrew Garfield is one of my favorite actors of all time because I saw back to back Hacksaw Ridge and Silence, and I love Hacksaw Ridge, and Silence is my third favorite movie of all time, and it's a lot of it is because of Andrew Garfield. So he's been a favorite of mine. So Tick Tick Boom really has been a movie that I've been aware of because Andrew Garfield's in it. I didn't know anything but the title and that he's in it. I didn't. I mean, I knew nothing, and I was on Netflix one day and it had premiered, so I went across it and I was like, oh yeah, that movie that I hadn't thought about in forever. And so I watched the trailer and I'm like, oh, it's a musical. Okay. And then I see Lin Manuel Miranda directed it and I'm like, oh, it's a musical. Interesting. And then I find out it's about Jonathan Larson. And I immediately didn't want to watch it. I have nothing against Jonathan Larson, but for those of you who don't know, I hate Rent with all of my heart. You guys think I hate Dear Evan Hansen? At least I have a love hate relationship with that. I hate Rent. I don't give a crap about Rent. I don't get why people love it. It's just bad. So I'm like, oh no, this is about the guy that made Rent. I don't want to watch this, but it's Andrew Garfield. I gotta see it. So one night I was on Netflix and I couldn't find anything to watch, so I just watched it. And I kind of love it. Um, I was shocked to see that it's not a movie about him writing Rent because that's what I was worried about, and it isn't. It's really just about Jonathan Larson and the artist's journey, the artist's struggle, and I really appreciate that. And unlike Rent, some of the songs in Tick Tick Boom are memorable and awesome, and I still hum some of them to myself. Take Encanto last night. I can't remember a single song from that movie right now, but Tick Tick Boom I've seen once, and I've got the soundtrack on YouTube saved. I play it at work. Ask my coworkers. I play it sometimes, and I like it. It's good. Um, there are points where it definitely turns into a self-congratulating project where they say Jonathan Larson was some kind of god and he's this otherworldly being and he's just the best thing to ever happen to humanity. And it's like I would hate it if it was for that, but that only happens like in a couple scenes. The rest of the movie is really just about the struggle of being an artist. And I really appreciate that because it's done really well. And let me tell you, if it wasn't for Silence, this would probably be my favorite Andrew Garfield performance because I've gone and looked at some videos of Jonathan Larson performing Tick Tick Boom, and I've seen more on him now, and it's like Andrew Garfield got him down to a T. Like he became Jonathan Larson with this. It's really incredible, and I never knew Andrew could sing. I mean, he sounds amazing. So, I mean, I was just caught off guard by it. I can honestly say he's the only character I care about. His friends and his girlfriend and all that stuff. It's like I care about them because I care about him, so I care about them in relation to him. Um, and as it went on, it was like it was great. It was totally how you expect the movie to go. They only mention Rent once in a passing line where they're like, yeah, this musical that he's been writing didn't take off, but then he wrote this amazing musical Rent, and then he died the day that it premiered off Broadway, and it was so jarring. Like they just threw that in there towards the end, and I'm like, you didn't need to put that in. Like you really didn't need to ignore it. It could have been right before the credits. They just throw that line of dialogue in. It's like this omnipotent narration that I think is voiced by the girl, the woman. I can't think of her name, but the girl that plays his girlfriend in the movie. I think the narration was done by her. I could be wrong. It's been a while since I've watched it, a couple weeks, and but yeah, it was good. Um, Definitely a lot better than I thought it was going to be because I was going into it dreading it and just going in for another Andrew Garfield performance. The directing was actually done really well. I'd like to see Lin-Manuel Miranda direct more musicals that aren't his because, again, I am not a fan of him. I hope to God they never make a Hamilton movie and a movie, not just a recording of the cast on stage, because I will never see it. Sorry, guys. That is one that I will avoid. But yeah, this one was good. I have my complaints, but I really don't want to get into those because they're super nitpicky. And I mean, this is not perfect by any means, but compared to what I thought it was going to be, it might as well be a masterpiece. But all that said, I definitely check this one. Definitely say check this one out. It's on Netflix, so if you have Netflix, it's right there to watch. Andrew Garfield is amazing. If anything, watch it for him and his performance. And some of the songs are really catchy and memorable. I have one of them in my head right now. So yeah, check it out if you get a chance. And that one I am also giving a 6 out of 10. Um, so to move on, some movies that I saw a month ago now that I need to make reviews for. I'm gonna get hopefully two of them out of the way right now. Um, and then there's another one I saw. I saw five movies in the same day. One of them was a rewatch, and that was No Time to Die. I've already done a review. And then I saw a few more. Two of them I want to cover right now, and then one more I want to make a single video on. And then the other one is so forgettable I might just throw it in another. But anyway, we'll get on to it. I also saw Antlers, a movie that I've really been looking forward to for a while. It was supposed to come out a long time ago, and then it was one of those movies that was heavily affected by COVID. But I saw the trailer and I was super interested, and I finally got to see it. And was it worth the wait? Kinda. Uh, it's a real slow burn film, which is what I expected, and I really appreciate it. I thought it was done really well. The kid who plays the lead, or I guess the lead child, was actually good. It's really hard to impress me with child performances because I think most child performances are awful unless they actually get children that can act. But he was good. I liked him a lot. I really bought his terror and his, this child going through this awful situation by himself. I really bought his performance. Jesse Plemons is in this, and I love Jesse Plemons, so I was so happy to see him. But yeah, this is a pretty much straightforward, slow burn horror movie, and I don't even want to say like it's a creature movie, but I'm not gonna say what creature or anything because they kind of reveal it in the trailer. So if you watch a trailer, you'll know, or they do reveal it in the trailer actually. But I don't want to say because I already knew that, and it's like if you don't know, it'd be cool to go into this one blind. But really slow burn. I think the finale was fun. Definitely a good enough payoff with what the movie is. Um, Almost all the performances are great. There were a couple smaller performances that weren't that awesome, but the leads are all great, so that was fine. I didn't really have to focus on the small bits that much, thankfully. It's only an hour and a half long, so it goes by really fast, even though it is a slow burn. Um, yeah, definitely a satisfying payoff. The actual ending scene right before the credits was super predictable, so I was kind of hoping for a better credit sting, like a better thing to happen right before credits start, but it was so obvious what was going to happen that I was like, okay, fine, you've already won me over. This is a good movie. Um, but I enjoyed it a lot. It was definitely worth the wait in a lot of ways, and then some also not that much. I kind of wish we would have been able to explore a bit more. I feel like this movie could have had some help if it was a little bit longer. Don't make it like 2.5 hours, but I don't know, maybe another 20 minutes tops could have really helped. But they establish everything really well, and it's fun. Um, but I definitely recommend checking this one out. It's left theaters at this point. I'm not sure when it's available on home media, but the movie's called Antlers, so pretty easy title to remember if you come across it. I definitely recommend it if you're into horror, especially if you're into slow burn horror. Don't go in expecting a jump scare spooky fest because that's not what it is. It's definitely a build up the tension kind of movie, and I'm so glad I finally got to see it. I'm kind of rushing through this, but yeah, I definitely recommend it. So Antlers is also getting a 6 out of 10. And then I have to cover this movie. I don't want to, But that day, I also finally saw Venom. Let There Be Carnage, or as the what is it? The French title is There Will Be a Carnage. That's my favorite movie reviewer. YMS mentioned that in his review. I did not want to see this movie. I hated the first one. I despised the first one, and I still despise the first one. I rewatched the first one before going to see this one because I hadn't seen it since it came out, and I was like, screw it. I'll just sit here and play a game on my Switch and just have it on and kind of pay attention to it. It's awful. I hate it. There's nothing memorable about it. The only good thing that I can say about it is Tom Hardy's awesome, but he's awesome in everything, even if it is crap. And with this one, I liked it more, but keep in mind that Venom got my lowest rating uh, that I can give. Yeah, this movie doesn't need to exist. This movie is a complete waste of the character Carnage. I don't like this universe. I hate everything about this movie except it just kind of worked for me a bit more than the first one. It's completely useless, and another one that's only an hour and a half long, and it's like this movie felt so like, well, we have to make this because we teased Carnage, so let's just give the bare minimum of what a movie is, and then we can get on with our lives. Like, it seriously feels like this movie was farted out into existence. None of the comedy works. All the action is boring. The only two good performances, again, were Tom Hardy and Woody Harrelson, because Woody Harrelson knew he was in crap, so he just hams it up, and he's fun in everything. I love Woody Harrelson. He's another actor I think for the most part can do no wrong. So I think he's a great casting for Cletus and Carnage and all that. But what a waste of a movie to use him in. I hate that this movie exists, and I don't ever plan on seeing it again. Spoilers here. As most people know by now, the mid-credit sting is Eddie and Venom on vacation, and there's this sort of earthquake, whatever. And for us, we know multi-dimensional shift, and we find out they're in the universe of the MCU now, and they see Tom Holland Spider-Man on the TV that of the room that they're in, and it's the ending scene of Spider-Man Far From Home where J. Jonah Jameson reveals that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. And Venom's like, this guy, I like this guy, and he like licks the screen. I was like, please, no, I don't need this Venom in the MCU unless you somehow bullshit a way to fix him, like it seems like they're gonna fix Electro in No Way Home. Just, I hate this movie. I like it more than the first one, but that is not saying much. This movie's a waste of time. This movie did not need to be made. This movie was made just because they were like, well, we did this, so we have to do this. It's bad, and I know most of you have seen it at this point. If you were gonna see it, you've seen it by now. It's awful. I will never see it again. I hate this movie. So Venom, I gave a 1 out of 10. Venom, very generously, I will add, is getting a 2 out of 10. And I am going to leave it at that. There's another movie I saw on that day that I saw those past two movies that I really want to cover, so I will get to that soon. And hopefully I'll be able to get to some other movies that I've seen. There's another one I've seen that I really need to review. But we'll get to that when I do. So thanks for watching, and I will see you guys soon. Thanks.